guys, it's Nathan Birch here from B.Invested.com.au, where we help people build property portfolios, give them direction, education, and put them on the right track with our services as far as finance and helping people in a non-bullshit approach. And that's what I want to talk today about, everyone, is just there's a lot of bullshit out there in the industry, and there's a lot of bullshit out there in the world. And I've had a lot of people questioning lately just about different strategies that are out there, and there's some very good people out there in the industry and people that I respect a lot, and there's some people there that I don't, and there's some shonky people out there, and there's people that will tell you numbers and stuff like that, which just bullshit. So that's what I wanted to get on YouTube today and talk to you about. And from that, where do I start? I'm going to start off with NRAS. NRAS, it's probably the negative gearing of the 21st century. What it is, it's where you take a lower rent, you buy a brand new property, and the government gives you a tax deduction because you're buying a new property, and the spruikers go out there and they sell you the fact that the property is brand new, you can depreciate it, they give you some nice spreadsheets, and they tell you to go off and buy this, and it's going to be, after all tax deductions and NRAS and all that sort of stuff, it's only going to be costing you $50 per week. But what about if you lost your job? What about if you didn't have an income and you weren't paying tax? It could be negative by $300, $400, $500 per week. That'll rape your cash flow. And for me, it's important that I look at anything, I want to buy it below market value. People say, Nathan, you're always wearing thongs. Well, today I'm wearing a pair of shoes, and I've got a pair of nice Globe shoes here, and I bought them for $40. Pretty cool. I think they're normally about 130, 140 bucks. I don't know how much they normally sell for, but I know it's about triple the price. I don't buy shoes all that often. However, I bought them below market value. I buy things below market value. I drive a sports car, I bought it below market value. I paid 100 grand less than what the guy that bought it 12 months before me paid for it. With it, everything must be bought below market value. And with an NRAS property, or any brand new property, so to speak, there's a lot of fees and stuff that are included in the purchase price. So the properties are inflated. You're actually paying over what they're really worth. I had someone yesterday ask me about a block of land, and it's $250,000, and it'll be ready to build on in 3 years' time or 5 years' time. And $250,000 in this area, I can buy a house and land package for like a house, existing house, and a bigger block of land in that same area for about $200,000, and it's a suburb in Melbourne, in Victoria. With it, you want to make sure you're buying a property below market value. You're not paying overpriced. When you buy a new property, whether it be off the plan or a spruiker or someone that's selling you a tax deduction sort of thing, or your financial advisor that's selling you some piece of shit property, those things there, they're normally getting a $30,000 to $50,000 commission for it. You're paying that. You're paying $30,000 to $50,000 overpriced because you're buying a property that's brand new off the plan, and they get paid a marketing fee or commission. So just be careful of that sort of stuff. Anything that's off the plan, I don't like it. I like buying stuff that are new. Like, I've just bought a fair few resort blocks. Probably every month I buy about 30 blocks out of an administrator that's gone bust or something like that. And I pick these things up for 50% of the value of what other suckers would pay. And like, you don't want to be one of those guys that pay full price for a property or overpriced for a property. I just settled on these really nice resort-style penthouse things in Noosa, up near Noosa, in Mount Coolum. And people had paid for 3-bedroom units $700,000. I picked them up for myself and for our clients at $370,000. It's half price. They rent for $500 a week almost for the 3-bedders. 2-bedroom units, $330,000. People were paying $500,000-$600,000 for them before. And I think the cheapest 3-bedroom sold for the cheapest 2-bedroom had sold in a block for just under $500. It was about $470 or something like that. We picked up the 2-bedders for $330,000. Other people had paid too much. They paid 150 grand too much, and that's what normally happens when you buy one of those properties from a developer or a marketing company or one of those free seminars that you go to. But you know, people love that stuff. With it, there's people out there with granny flats, spruiking granny flats. I went to auction recently, without mentioning any sort of names about anyone in particular in the industry, but you get to see these sort of fun characters. I went to an auction, and I was just laughing. It was in Western Sydney, and there was a property group company there that go and buy things, and they had granny flats and renovate them and all that sort of stuff, and tell you about how you can make money from positive cash flow. But what they're doing is that they're paying overpriced. Like, there was property that came up, and I laughed and I said, I think this thing's going to sell for $300,000. With it, the property went to auction, and there were people bidding, and there was like two of these sort of groups bidding against each other, and it ended up selling for $380,000. And I was like, you're fucking kidding me. You paid $100,000 overpriced for it. But what I feel sorry for is for the client of those people, because they've paid too much for the property. Why did they buy the property? They bought the property because then they can charge a renovation fee, they can take a kickback from the renovations, they charge a granny flat fee, they get money back from the granny flat, they charge you a fee for acquiring the property. So there could be $30,000 to $50,000 in fees that you actually pay these people to help you buy a property and add a granny flat. And for me, like, if you had a granny flat to that, all the fees and all that sort of stuff, you're probably into it for $500,000 if you're lucky. And this is for a house and a granny flat in Western Sydney. You've got to be kidding me. I've bought 2 houses in Western Sydney for that. I actually bought in Kellyville, which is northwest Sydney, and bought a house on land for under $450,000. I'm going to make nearly $500,000 on it. Like, these people are going to be waiting for the next 2 booms to come before they start seeing any sort of money made and realised on it. So just be very careful of those sorts of things. The other thing that I'm seeing out there in the marketplace at the moment is people that are referring to wraps and options and flips and all that sort of stuff. Like, you've got to question when you pick up a book and it says 0 to however many properties in only 3 or 5 or 7 years or whatever. What you've got to realise is that those people that buy those properties, like, do they really own 130 properties? You've got to question, do they own 130 properties? Do they own 500 properties? Do they own 200 properties? That's something just to be careful of, because a lot of people think that you can go out and just buy all these properties. Like, there's a difference between buying, acquiring and holding the properties, watching the growth happen, having a good cash flow along the way, and having a good net worth position, rather than just buying and on selling a property for a couple of bucks more. And that's just something, when anyone ever sees you the numbers, make sure that they can quantify their numbers to you and do your own research to make sure that the numbers work for you to replicate their success. The other thing to be careful of is Amerika. Fuck, Amerika. Like, everyone talks about Amerika at the moment. There's people spruiking this shit everywhere. Like, Amerika, I haven't bought property in Amerika. Would I buy property in Amerika? I don't know. Like, I'm scared of aeroplanes, so I don't want to go over there and have a look at them. I don't fly in aeroplanes. But what I see as a fear from Amerika is that you're not just buying a property. Like, you buy a property in Australia, you're sitting here in Australia, you've got Australian tax laws, the same whether you're in Perth, Sydney, Queensland, Melbourne, wherever. Difference in America, there's a whole new tax system, there's a whole new structuring system. You can't even be there, you have to fly out of the country. Like, it's a total different regulation and rules. Not only that, we've got an Australian dollar, we've got a US dollar. What happens if the US dollar tanks? What happens if the Aussie dollar tanks? What happens if the Aussie dollar rises? Those things could technically wipe out an investor's portfolio and all their profits that it could make on a property over there. You've got to look at the economic cycle, you've got to look at where everyone's over there. Are we creating a bubble over there from all the silly people in all different countries buying in America because they think it's cheap when really it could still be overpriced? You don't know. So will a crash happen in Australia? I don't know. Like, will I have a car accident today? Like, let's touch wood or gyprock, whatever this wall's made out of. Let's not hope so. But with it, I personally think Australia's in a good, solid position. There is a lot of future ahead of us. We're very economically set up in the scheme of things in the world to actually be very fruitful in the years to come. As for a collapse happening, we've seen a lot of bad things happen over the last decade. Being in Sydney, New South Wales, I'm just going to speak from a New South Wales background. New South Wales, we've had a shit government, we've had high interest rates, we've had heaps of properties, an oversupply of properties in the early 2000s. We've seen high unemployment, we've seen GFC, we've seen nearly 10% interest rates. What has happened? The property price went up, it fell down back in the early 2000s, and it stayed stable. What have we got now? We've got a lot lower unemployment than before. We've got the lowest interest rates ever. We've got a lot more people moving into the country. Because of the GFC, we've survived that. but people haven't been building, so there's not enough building and not enough properties here in Sydney, for example. And as far as it all goes, like, we've seen a lot of bad things, we've survived that, and I personally think that there's a lot of opportunity. In Sydney, in the current market, I'm seeing people pay 50 grand more than the asking price what it was 6 months ago to buy a property. So the market is moving here. Will it keep going? I personally think we're about halfway through that. What it's happening in other states are all for those commentators to talk about. I think Queensland's very soft at the moment. I think it's a good buying opportunity. Melbourne, I think, is just Melbourne. Melbourne have not so good yields. I think the market's pretty soft there, good to buy properties that are below market value. But Sydney, it's starting to get very hot here. Probably the next footstep where I'll be will be in Queensland. So with it, appreciate you watching. Hopefully I've saved you some money from getting suckered into buying some crap off someone that's going to rip you off. So with it, have a great day. Thanks a lot for watching this, and we'll catch up soon.